I am logged in, actually.
on the 405.
Okay,
It's crazy.
it is.
Good morning, Rich. You're muted. Or Leo is muted. Still muted. There we go.
Now, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. I know. It's okay. Okay. I don't know if we're rid of that or not. Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Thanks for coming.
Good morning.
Getting this echo. How about now?
Is the speaker on your laptop on?
Well, I turned the volume down and it's on mute. Well, if this is closed, doesn't really matter.
No, because you're logged in over there.
There, how's that?
Oh, looks great. Oh, you know what? Because the computer, the projector's connected to your computer. All right,
So I want to connect with the head.
Yeah, let me just.
This is much easier.
How does that sound?
You're still echoing a little bit.
A little bit. It's worse on this
Oh,
side.
you know why? Because
Why?
this should be connected.
I
Right
it's
here.
right here.
What's better than listening to Rich one time is listening to him 2 times.
I like your attitude, John. You know, I would vote for you. Something's going on with that. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. We could stand here all day long and just wait for the technical aspect to be addressed, right? But we're not going to do that. So first of all, let's welcome Candy Babcock with First American Natural Hazard Disclosure. Candy, thank you for coming. By the way, breakfast was excellent, Candy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I love to cook. So no, I love to cook, so I do usually get up early. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, here?
Yes.
I hear, oh, okay. Hi, everybody. I love to cook. Sorry, so many of you are not here to enjoy my breakfast this morning, but hopefully next time. But I just wanted to kind of touch on a few little things that have changed since I've talked to you last. One of the things which we're excited about is we have these new buyers and sellers guides, and I'm going to leave some of them here at the office for you. If anybody wants any of these, you can email me and I can send you the PDF of it. It's a great explanation of everything you want to know about natural hazard disclosures. And we're giving these, a lot of my agents actually like using these in their sellers packets, because when they explain to a seller that they're going to have to get a natural hazard report, the first question is, well, what is that? Well, everything is right here. So I'll leave some of those at the office, but one exciting feature, because we're always trying to do things to make your life easier. One of the things I'm really excited about, and a lot of people are too, I seriously get a lot of phone calls on weekends and nights, which I don't mind at all. I'd rather you call me when you have a question. I'm asking about taxes on property. Well, our amazing technical team actually devised and deployed a tax estimator on our website. This is super cool. All you have to do is go to our website, which is www.fanhd.com. On the top toolbar, there's you just click on tax estimator. You put in the property address, the estimated sales price and the closing date, and that will calculate the taxes for you, not only the general ad valorem and the special assessments, but it also calculates a supplemental tax for you as well. The agents are loving this because it's so quick and easy. One of the things that it does not do, and I'm sorry, I'm talking just to the camera, sorry, everybody. One of the things that it does not do is give you the start date, end date, and all the current levy information on Mello-Roos. So if there is a Mello-Roos question on the maturity date or anything else to do with that, you still have to call me. And like I said, do it. I don't care. We have our tax department. I just shoot them an email and they get it back to me, and it's super easy. Besides that, actually, I found out this morning I am going to contact Carlos about doing a natural hazard disclosure class for you. So I promise to make it fun, because I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but I tried to make it fun, and I will cook for you. If I come in, I will cook something for you to come to the class. But thank you so much for all of your business, for all of your support. I love you guys so much. And I'm going to stay and watch your presentation because you're so awesome.
Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for coming. So you probably noticed when using Authentisign in Zipforms that there's an option now, the original version and then the revised version. So I found out this week that the original version is going to actually disappear, possibly April or May of this year, and that's not for sure. So that's why we're beginning the training session now. As a matter of fact, even the person who's here to train us today is using this in a beta fashion, in a sense, because it's not the final version, but it's going to help you when that change takes place, so know how to use it. So a couple of things. The new form editor from Authentisign is going to talk, we're going to talk today about saving and returning to your workspace, how to add and edit parties. You'll see it's different, by the way. How to add and edit listing information, how to add and edit other, offer information, how to import other documents, for example, a PDF, how to edit PDFs, how to use markup tools, and how to create and use clauses. Today with us is Leo Luera. He's with Orange County Association of Realtors. He's a Supra and Member Specialist and trainer. Good person to know. You probably have talked to him during various occasions, as a matter of fact, with your association with the Board of Realtors. So let's welcome Leo. Here we go. Thank you, Thank you, Leo.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm so glad everyone's here to join us. Join us for a small talk about Authentisign, and good morning to everyone here online. Everyone can hear me okay with the presentation? I'm talking a little bit louder to make sure I project to hear everyone can be able to hear me. So let's get down to it. So in case while I'm clicking buttons on this beautiful computer screen, just give you an idea of like who I am. I've been with the Orange County Realtors, oh goodness, for a good amount of time. There we go. Since 2007. So I've been with the Orange County Realtors since I was just a young person, but I am still considered one of the newbies at the office I'm working at in Laguna Hill, in Fountain Valley. So we have one person's been there for 38 years. Another person's been there for 20 some years. And I'm of course the rookie, 15 and a half years. So to get started, I've already done the liberty of signing into the California Association of Realtors and clicking the Realtor Secure transactions and went already in to Zipforms. And when I log into Zipforms, it's still all the same. The layout is still the same. The dashboard, etc., is the same. One thing that I do want to point out is that for some of you who haven't used Zipforms in some time, if you're going to delete something, you can either click this button to delete it, or you can click this to delete it, this drop down arrow. And once you click delete, either way, you will then be asked to delete. Now, in my browser, I discovered that I can't just hit delete. I have to hit enter after I type in delete if I want to delete the transaction. And then now I can be able to click yes. It's a weird bug that I noticed in my browser. I'm not sure if that's occurring in the browser that you're using, if it's Safari or Opera or whatever browser you're using, but I'm using Chrome for this demonstration. So I've already created a sample transaction to look at, and I chose one that's, well, it's relatively close to where I live at in Walnut. Walnut is near Diamond Bar, Rowland Heights area. It's a short drive. Basically, I call it, when people don't know the area, it's the Irvine of LA County. Rolling hills, green. It's very nice and very quiet. It's kind of environment where, you know, if you forgot to lock the doors outside your car, you can still walk out there and it's like, oh, everything's fine. No worries. Very good neighborhoods, very good schools. So anyways, I've already done the adding parties. I've already added documents on a template, but I wanted to just poke at one of the forms. So we're going to look at the residential purchase agreement. So the old way is the Forms Editor Classic, which is eventually going to go away, which is fine. You can still continue to use this for right now. In fact, for right now, we don't know of a way to add photos, for example, into the agent visual inspection, the AVID. So we're trying to figure that out. Now we're going back and forth with the California Association of Realtors to try to correct that. If you want more information about this new Forms Editor we're going to talk about, you can do the basics, the Form Editor Basics, or the Form Editor Advanced. So when you click that, I'm going to go back to the old browser, and it's going to show you where it's at. Just a video that gives you an idea of how to use the basics, and another video on how to use some of the advanced features of it. But going back into seeing what it looks like, I'm going to open up the new Form Editor. Now the layout looks very much different. So on my left-hand side, as I'm looking at the screen, the image of the contract is there. On the right-hand side is some different tools, a workspace. A workspace is, for example, if you're going to be working on just these set of documents first, that's considered a workspace. If you go back in later and say do agent visual inspection, that's a different workspace. So you can keep on doing a number of different workspaces in the same transaction. So in this workspace that I'm working on, I have the residential purchase agreement. I can be able to download forms that I've been told to use by my brokerage. I can choose it from a single file, zip file, or multiple files. I can also grab, the contracts or whatever I put in here in this one transaction that I've already placed in here. I can add it above. So if I click this one, it will automatically add it to my transaction.
I have a question.
Please.
When you say download a file, you're downloading from Zipforms to your computer?
Download into this. So if I click, for example, download and click single file, I click, the residential purchase agreement has already been downloaded. If I click that contract, that's way below. If I unclick it and I just click this, once again, download, click single file. Now, mind you, this is a new version of doing this type of training. So it's relatively new for all of us. So that download now looks like this. So I scroll down, it does show my client's information. So it gives you an idea of what it looks like. And if you needed to, let me move this over here. I can be able to print it if I needed to, print it to a PDF if I needed to. So if my client is one of those individuals like, you know, I don't have a email, I don't have a computer that I can use, well, then that's okay. You just fill out all the information to the best of your abilities, and you can still be able to print it and take it over your client for a wet signature. So these are some of the new things that we're learning still with this new Forms Editor from Zipforms. One thing to also look at would be these different choices, parties. So if I wanted to add more parties, I can be able to do so by clicking add a new party from a Zipform contact, or add a party from Google. I haven't used that yet because I don't have any parties in Google. But if I wanted to add a new party, I can be able to do so. I can choose the role that this person plays. So if they're a buyer, I can choose as a buyer 3, or any one of the other individuals there, appraiser, title company, etc.
So Leo, you complete the cover sheet and there's 2 buyers to a transaction. Is that going to be available to you when you're filling up those to choose for signature?
Yes. So even if you still complete the cover sheet, this will still allow you to add more individuals. Like, for example, if you need to add a pest control company, you can be able to do that if you wanted to, or you can add other if you wanted to. You can add someone to review the documents if you wanted to. So if I wanted to do, like, let's say, add other, then I can be able to use, say, oh, let's use my good friend Tony. And his email address, we're going to use the same as to be my work email address. And I will leave all the information alone. And his role is going to be, let me see if I can get that right. And once again, this bottom section, in case you're wondering, like, what's a signing representative? So if this was, the top portion was a trust or LLC or something of that manner, then you have to put the individual who's going to sign on behalf of that party down here. So they put it, you would put in that information. And then Anthony would not want to be a buyer 3, he's going to be other. And his role is to review. And that's it. That's it. He's just going to be someone who's going to review my documents. And I click save. So I have my parties here. And if I don't want someone in there, I can always delete it if I wanted to. So let's say, for example, Alex Alexander, I can remove him. Not a problem. So if you've seen that you've added too many individuals to this transaction, you can be able to do that. And the same thing with, say, Anthony. If I said, oh, you know, that was done in error, I can remove him as well. That's all. Pretty simple. So that one's going to take more playing around because you have to get used to this kind of behavior of this type of new way of doing transactions. So if we look at our transactions once again, I'm going to add the listing agreement form B, which is a fictitious document that we add we use this as a form saying how to add signatures and checkboxes to a document. So, and this is an add a form or a document. We're going to upload it, and I'm going to choose the document from either my Dropbox, my Google Drive box, or OneDrive, or I can browse the files on my computer, which I'm going to do. And I have a lot of files, goodness. I was supposed to, I'm going to find it here. Forgive me for the delay. And I'll use that one. So once again, a fictitious document I've added. And then here's the listing information. So we'll have the listing MLS ID and other information that you can input if you need to. The buying side, et cetera, buying side commission, you can add that, the listing agreement expiration, any information that's pertinent to this document.
We have a question on the chat.
Sure.
Are there party designations for tenant and landlord?
There will be, yes, there will be. As you know, some documents cannot be electronically signed. So you can go through this process and input all the information in, but it still needs, some documents require a wet signature.
But it also, you have to select at the beginning of the transaction whether it's a sale or a lease, and then that will show up show you whether it's a seller or a landlord.
Correct.
A buyer or tenant. So you have to make sure that it's a correct transaction when you create it.
Correct. So in this demonstration, I'm using someone who's going to be a potential buyer of a property, of a listing that's for sale in the city of Walnut. If it was a listing that's, say, in Irvine that's for lease, then yes, the individuals that I'll be representing would be a tenant or perhaps a landlord. Anyone else with its questions? So when you do choose, that's going to dictate what individuals you're going to be representing. So in my case, I should have said that in the beginning, I'm representing someone who's who wants to buy a property in Walnut, California. Okay, so once we put in the information, the property includes washer, dryer, I could just write that down, washer and dryer, then that will be added to the document. Offer information. So we could put in the purchase price of, say, 250000. Let's add another 0. There we go. And we can put in other information, 25,000. And then the offer date will be, say, tomorrow. And expiration would be the end of the month. And so on. If you're representing a client, you would go through this entire process of putting all that information in, and it'll populate it into the transaction.
So
And then-
when you go directly to the document itself, you choose to, as opposed to going using these cells on the right hand side.
That's the thing about this. So if you, let's say if we go to the file, if we go to the document itself rather than saying file, sorry. If I were to say, click here, date prepared, if I put in that today's date, I can be able to do so. Let's
So
see.
Essentially the same as the way we're managing currently.
Correct. Correct. But I wanted to make sure that I showed you that as well.
Right. That's
Because as I'm saying this, I want to make sure it works too. Because if there's any errors, we want to make sure we catch those errors.
So you added the term washer and dryer. Where's it showing up in the document?
Let me find that. Bathroom mirrors. And I'm scrolling down and it should have shown there under other. But I do not see it, and that's going to be a bug that I'm going to be sharing with CAR after this demonstration. Because it should have shown up down here, other terms. But it should have shown something that's the effect, washer and dryer.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things about doing a demo. All of us teach each other how to use the system. Whether it's we learn from old knowledge or we learn from learning as we go from mistakes. By the way, clauses, anyone has, I'm sure people have known about clauses. Anyone have questions? I mean, has anyone not known how to use a clause?
Can you review it and review the reasons why you would use it?
So clauses are, the purpose of the clauses would be if there's some wording, verbiage that has to be used in a unique situation, like probate or foreclosure, short sale, or it's something that's going to be used on a regular basis, you can list all the clauses, and I'll show you in just a moment how to do that after this transaction we're doing. But I'll show you how to use that clause that you've already created and include it into this one section here. So if I use a clause, if I'm in an area where it allows me to type in text, so there, no, but over here in this area, this word add clause pops up. So if I were to click the phrase as add clause, I can use the clause that I created some time ago. And this particular clause, of course, is not going to be used in your real life situation because it says the seller is responsible for cookies at time of closing. So obviously you can tell that's just something just used to show you how to use the software, but you're not going to hopefully use it in your real life transaction. So this is how you would create a clause. If you're here, we're going to represent a buyer. We call it a title. Buyer, whoops, buyer's responsibility. And what are they responsible for? Buyer is responsible for contacting Candy to bring over breakfast because it is delicious. There we go.
So clause is just typing document or language that you would use in a repetitive manner.
Correct,
in various contexts.
correct,
To save yourself time.
correct. So if you were going to use this every single time that you do a transaction, then yes, you want to add that clause, go into it again, buyer's responsibility, the one we just created, and click insert. And sure enough, it should show up there. It should. There we go. Any questions about this? There we go.
Does anyone have an example of a clause that they would compose or suggest? I do.
Okay,
What
please.
are we seeing now? We're seeing offers that contain credits in favor of the buyer. And remember, the contract states that any unused credit will be lost. So you might add language in a clause that states that any unused credit shall be used as a direct reduction on the purchase price. So you don't have to continue to type that over and over again when you're submitting offers, asking for credit from the seller. Remember, that's applicable to any credits that you may issue, the seller may issue. So you should address that in the purchase contract if you're asking for any type of credits on behalf of your buyer. I have another one. Yeah.
Contract.
That is a good idea. Matter of fact, to get the correct language, go to the request for repair so you can see the language used such that you're obligating the seller to provide a section with clearance. So the language copy that. We know it's going to be correct. That's a very good idea.
So yeah, as we're saying this, I can keep adding more clauses over and over again because I'm going to be using this verbiage on a regular basis, whether it be for this particular transaction or in the future. So as soon as a situation arises where I need to use this verbiage, it's already going to be stored there. So it's just a matter of me click add clause, and then I can import one of the clauses that I created long ago and use it.
For the broker edition of Zipforms, you can create a global project that you can share with the whole offer.
That is correct. So the global clauses would be something that a broker edition would use. If you're using the personal edition, then you would just use this one. Your own personal login ID, not going through a brokerage login. Any more questions about clauses? Okay. I would encourage you to keep using that as best you can, the clauses, because you will find that it's going to save you a lot of heartache and midnight drama if you're trying to put together a contract and you're like, what's the right wording that I used 5 months ago on the transaction? It's better to put it in here so that way you don't have to worry about that at 5 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, that you're running on 2 hours sleep trying to get this transaction done. So now I'm in this last document, the listing form B, we call it. It's something that we created. It was a fictitious document to show you how to be able to add sections where you can write in text. So for example, in this section where I wrote down, click tools. The only two features that we've noticed that works is so far text box and highlight. So if I click text box and if I click text box, let's try again. If I click text box, I should be able to add it there. Different. Now the width of it does matter because otherwise if it's too narrow like this, if I double click it and I put in say Fountain Valley, because Fountain Valley is a long word, you'll see that Fountain Valley looks like that. But if I click on here and then kind of drag it out, come on, drag with me, drag it out, then you can see it fits on that line. So you can keep adding more text box and you can change the font style if you wanted to. You can make it 19 if you wanted to. You can make it down to something tiny that's hard to read. So you have all the different choices. Whoop. There we go. So I'm putting it back at 12. You can change the color if you wanted to. You could change this font if you wanted to. There's 3 different fonts to choose from. You can make it bold if you wanted to, and so on. You can make italics. Let's try it again, that word italics. Apparently I haven't had the coffee yet to kick in. Yes, I've been up for a little bit. So this is how you would add a text box to a certain field. And if you want to look at another spot, we can look at, say, down here, described as text box. I'm still on the old way. Just click it and click here. And then I can type in something saying to the effect, double click it, and then click, well, wonderful. Described as wonderful. That's it. And then now we're saying, okay, so that's great. Now, how do I have somebody sign these documents? Well, that'll be the next step. I have to do it right down here. Oops. That is a new thing I just did. Okay. Let me see if I can correct that. Because I just closed my box.
Can you click on any of the boxes when you want to issue?
You are correct. Thank you. I appreciate it, Carlos. See, together we're figuring this out. Now I'm going to prepare to sign it. So I'm going to have just parties involved. It's just going to be Charlene. I'm only going to have Charlene sign it. And just to show you what it looks like. So now it gets the documents and it's going to prepare to have them sign. Now here's the choices. You can either go with the alternate e-sign service, which we're used to, AuthentiSign 2.0. Excuse me, Digital Ink 2.0, or DocuSign if you have a DocuSign service. You would choose this one. However, the new AuthentiSign is going to look like this. Here is the signing name. You can stick with this if you wish, or you can change the name if you wanted to. If you have folders that you've already created within this transaction, then you can have this document go into that specific folder. Otherwise, it's just going to create its own folder, which I'm going to allow it to do. So I'm going to click create. And then with the power of the internet, we wait for it to load everything. It'll be just a moment. So show of hands, how many individuals have already used this, have seen these already, the way of doing this? A few of you here? And a few of you, I hope, online as well. Because honestly, it's been a slow winter, so many of you are probably seeing this for the first time. So first thing we're going to do is once we see this, it's popped up, we're going to set a signing order. So if I want to set a signing order, I can do that. If it's just going to be one individual, you don't have to worry about that. I'm going to add the participants. I'm going to add it either from a transaction, from my contacts, or new. Now, if I choose new or from contacts, then I have to load every single checkbox, like signature field, onto these documents. If I use it from the transaction, then I don't have to do that. So it's preferred that you already have the parties already set up before you get to the spot. Because otherwise you're going through the entire document line by line to make sure that your checkbox, you're checking every single box that your client has to sign or initial and through the way. Otherwise, more than 95% of the time, you're going to be fine. You don't have to worry about this.
So once again, when you state setting up the parties, does that mean within the cover sheet, for example?
This is outside the cover
It is.
sheet.
Well, the
This
cover
is
sheet
just,
actually-
this is going back to just what we saw a moment ago at the very top was parties. And we had to make sure that the parties involved in this transaction are there.
If you complete the cover sheet, will it populate this form without going into the parties and completing it?
That is something new I haven't tried out.
You have to add from transaction and then it'll pull up the parties.
Yes,
You can select which like the buyers or wherever you're representing it yourself.
but I am going to still try that out when I get back to the office to say, just ignore the parties and just add in individuals in the cover sheet. But that's interesting though. But still, I've only used this route of adding participants in the transaction through this method rather than going just strictly with the cover sheet. Because I know that my training has always been adding everything that you need in the cover sheet and it'll populate everything else. Yeah. This is going away from that a little bit.
I just tried both ways.
Excellent.
Both ways.
Great.
So you can do it with a cover sheet first and fill it all out and it proliferates to your parties tab. Or you can go to parties tab, fill it out there, and it basically pops up on your cover.
So she's already tried out the cover sheet and already populated the participants that are going to be participating in this transaction.
So there's reciprocity between the two, Gina? Right.
That's how it was on the classic one too. If you went into the parties tab, you can fill out the parties there and it will automatically fill out the cover sheet.
Yes, the classic version was the same as well. It's just that I try not to assume that what was the old version will be the same with the new version because sometimes we've been burned before. Yes, we had a question over here.
Third party to decide this is us handling this cover sheet doesn't have the third person. You can add it on.
Yes. So with the third person, he's saying that if you have a third person or more, then this is a great thing to use rather than the older version, which was really set up for just two individuals to sign.
So if there's three parties in his example, will it also populate the initial section, so the third party, you don't have to actually manually sign the initials for every document?
That I haven't practiced with 3 individuals or 4 yet.
Initial block on every page, because it's not gonna add it.
It's not going to.
No.
So it's no different than it was before.
But I want to see if it automatically adds what it shows at the very end.
Yeah, we see so many transactions with more than 2 buyers or sellers.
Only because, well, typically it's because of the price point typically that we're looking at.
And also the contracts only have 2 signers anyways for each side, so.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing.
Yes, so it'll be a conversation I'll definitely have with the California Association of Realtors about that. So in this example, we're going to use add from transactions. So I click add from transactions. Add from transactions. So I'm going to just choose one individual, Charlene, because I just want you to take a look at what it looks like. And by default, it's going to be remote signer. If you wanted to add more participants, say add new. We'll say Tony, my coworker, who is not here today. And his email address is for work. There we go. And his role, there's many different choices for role, but I'm going to see if I can add him as someone who, oh no, it's not there. There was a choice to add him as a reviewer before, but I guess I will cancel that.
You're not able to modify it.
I didn't see one where I can be able to do that, unfortunately. But let me go back into it. Add. Once again, I want to make sure my transaction is there. There we go. Select. Good. And if I wanted to add more participants, I can either add myself or someone. Add from contacts. Alex Alexander. Alex Alexander would be a reviewer. There we go. So let me go back to that before. Signers. If I add participants and I choose it from the transaction or to my contacts, then I can be able to choose an individual that in this case is going to be not just a remote signer, but someone who's a reviewer. So in other words, this person who's a reviewer is going to review the documents at the very end before the finalize. If I choose this person as CC, the documents will be finalized and then this person will get a copy of it. So they won't be able to review the documents. So in case you're adding someone else to this transaction, if their role in this transaction is to review it, then you want to add them as a reviewer. Or if at the very end, it's like, oh, you know, so-and-so needs a copy of this contract and this, how you would make sure that they're in it. But this goes back to making sure that they're in the transaction or they're in your contacts. Sure, please.
Then you go to parties, third person. Where is it showing up on the RPA sign? Like, is there a signature box automatically, or is that something that you have a signature box to?
We could try to do that now. Okay,
Let's try it.
okay. So-
Oh, actually, I just found it. It does pop up. It automatically has a place for it
Okay,
on the RPA's third party showing up above the original name.
So what about the initial blocks? Will it show up also?
We haven't gotten it.
Gina is adding third individuals to sign the transaction and she's seeing information on the documents that allows the individuals to sign. And I think
I see
Initial.
the printing button where it says like, hey, this is the third party, it's on this RPA, but I don't see a signature box. or
Okay,
no-
so-
or initial.
so she's seeing their name on the document, but no spot for signatures, nor document for check boxes or initials.
But it could pop up like when you actually send comments.
Okay, we'll give it a shot right now. Worst comes to worst, we'll try again, start from scratch. Okay, so we'll go with Alex Alexander. He's one. And then George Castle is as well. Remote signer, and yep. So we have buyer 1 as Charlene client. We have Alex Alexander being buyer 2. And I need to add a buyer 3. How do I may have to exit out of this and start from scratch, which is fine. That's the beauty of using this. We go back. I'm not going to save it. So I go back and try again. I'll go back into the transaction. I'm going to add my parties because I'm feeling I want to do it the safe way. Buyer 3. Oops, my address book. It's going to be George Castle. I chose George Castle long ago because there was a house for sale in Huntington Beach that looked like a castle. It just made sense for me. And then buyer 2 is going to be Alex Alexander. Alex Alexander was a former coworker of mine when I was working in the retail days, and I liked his name because people wouldn't believe him that his name was Alex Alexander. So now I go into documents. I go into residential purchase agreement. I choose the new forms editor. You see me going very quickly through this. I apologize, but I am curious about this as well. So residential purchase agreement, we have to add I forgot to add the listing form B to it, which is our practice one. Upload it from my computer. And now it's uploaded. So my 2 documents, residential purchase agreement, listing agreement, form B, my parties that are involved, buyer 1, 2, and 3, and me. And then I'll skip over to prepare signing. And we're going to use a new Authentisign. So I'll just type in 3 parties to make it very obvious that what we're doing. And all of you, thank you for hanging in with us from the other side that are not here in the office. You're missing out on delicious food from Candy, but I'm sure your food at home is delicious. It's fine, but we'll see you for the next meeting. So now I'm going to set a signing order. I'm going to choose my participants from the transaction. So once again, signers, this is the first thing you're going to see from the transaction. I'm going to choose Charlene, Alex Alexander, and George. Okay, all 3. And there they are. There's only 2 individuals because there's not a spot for buyer 3. So that probably tells me that it's going to be the same as it is now, that there's not going to be a spot for them. And then we go to documents. We're going to look at the residential purchase agreement. I am curious though. But documents are fine. Documents are fine. But I am very curious. I'm scrolling down just to make sure. Okay, so I see 2 areas. 1, 2.
So you have to manually add the 3rd
Yes.
or an additional
2.
signature addendum.
Because the signers, yes. Because George Castle would be 3. So if I scroll down, and I am going to guess I won't see a green area. That's not fair because blue and yellow put together looks green. So that looks like a green area, but that's not it. Nope. Nope, I don't see green. Greens are normally a good color for me. No. Scrolling down, I'm sorry for anybody who's getting a headache looking at this. No, I don't see any formatted. Okay, so it'll be the same as the old method, but that'll be a conversation still worth having with our friends at California Association of Realtors, which I'll do. Tools, this is where you would have, say, sign here if you wanted to.
Leah, what's the selection saying mapping signers or mapping? I think that was the term.
That was up when I clicked map signers.
Thank you. What is that?
So that would show you that, let's going back to it. Who are the individuals that are participating in this transaction? So we have, for example, buyer 1 as being Charlene client. Buyer 2 is Alex Alexander. The only problem is that we don't have room, we don't see a spot for buyer 3, George Castle. So that's, if this had put in a section for buyer 3, you would see George Castle right there. And then you can add the signature blocks for the individuals if you needed to. There's George. Good old George. And then I'll put his date right there. So yes, and then if we go scroll down further to the other document, this one has no signing of any sort on it. So if we start with Charlene client, she's going to be just blue. And in this case, if we were having, say, if we had all 3 individuals sign here, we would just click here, it says sign here, we'd drag it and put it there. And we'd put, say, their initials here if they wanted to. And then scroll, choose a different person, go to Alex Alexander, sign, and initials. And then, of course, the last person would be George. Sign and initials. You will see that in this document, it's going to look that way at the very end, asking for those individuals to sign it. And then, of course, you can go back up to this area. We can add a text box if you wanted to and fill out the other information. Auto date if we wanted to. Auto date will be right there. Why do we put auto date? Because it's asking for the date right there. So, and then if you needed to, like I said, add a text box, it's going to go right there. Click it, double twice, Fountain Valley, because it's a very long name. And there it fits. And if I click this X to close the signing tools, you'll see that they're there. Now, the other thing that is still a mystery to us is layouts. We haven't created layouts, so we're still working on figuring out how that's a layout for all of us. We can do that. We can probably do that in next class with Anthony. And then the options, you can change the signature if you wanted to. There's some information, so you could change the signature type. So here is different fonts to choose from. Well, that's very nice. That's kind of boring. And that's a little much, but I'm okay with that. But if you wanted to, you can also create your own signature, and you can do your own initials there. If you have your own upload of a signature that's already on your computer, you can upload it here. So those images can be added here. But for me, I'm just going to choose the style. Come on, style. And I'll choose this one, Tangerine. And I scroll down because I'm going to remember this as for future signings. And there's other information here, signing details. You can go through it, 3 parties to sign. That's the name of the document I've created. I can cancel that. Expiration date. If you want the documents not signed in a month from now, you can have it signed because you don't have a lot of time to play. You want to have it signed by Friday, you can have it signed by Friday and save the changes. You can do reminders if you wanted to. Set a reminder every day at 9 a.m. or you can set a reminder at 11 a.m. if you wanted to, or whatever time you wish. So that way the reminders sent out to all the individuals involved in this transaction. An authentic sign position, this is where you want the signature to occur. I haven't played with any of these, I apologize, but we're still playing with all these different fields. And then you can clear all the signing fields and clear all the markups and start from scratch if you wanted to. And then now, once we have all made the changes that we wanted to, now we click next. Once again, finalize signing setup. You're almost done. To further customize your signing invitation, you can do a customized invitation when showing that you can change the expiration date and the time that it's going to get reminders. So if you want to see what a customized invitation looks like, would be email docs to sign. And you could write down something to the effect is, please do not sign until I speak to you. Let me click save. Now we send this out to our client. So it's going to go to the 3 individuals, Charlene, Alex, and George. And then on our end, we're going to see this. It goes back to the transaction field. And then now for the client's perspective, what they are going to see is an email. So our dear friend Charlene is going to be the first one to get the email. And if I hit refresh, it should pop up. There it is. So the first person, oops, I obviously clicked the wrong thing. Let's go back. There we go. Okay, so we have a document to sign. Alex is going to be the first signer. Okay. So I click Alex, and this is what he's going to see. Oh, by the way, this is what he has to read. This is important that you go over this information with them, because they may have questions about the consumer consent disclosure and the lone wolf terms of service, the supplemental terms, because if they have questions about it, you want to be able to respond to them quickly. So I recommend that you print this out and have it readily available in case you have to review that. But you're going to see that it's a very simple process. They can either reject it or start it. So if you go over the document, if you click start, it's the first thing they have to do is just click that. And of course, the client is going to be asked, what font do you want? And it could be whatever that they wish. And you can discuss with them. It's any one of the 8 fonts that they wish to choose from. Sorry, I had to count right now. So we'll choose this one for Alex Alexander. And then this will be his signature that he wants to use. And as we scroll back up, you could see that, yes, he did sign it. Where'd it go? He did sign it. Come on. Right here in this spot. So he was the first one to sign it. And then we scroll down to the next spot. Let's click next. Now, if the client ever skips a spot, that's okay, because at the very end, they'll be told to go back to that one spot to correct it. So as you see that they're going through the process, they have 7 of 27 items assigned. They're 26% done. I'm increasing it, of course, because I'm clicking, and of course, I'm doing something that you probably don't really want to do with a client, because you want to go through the entire process of explaining all the terms and conditions for this document. The optional checkbox will be this one right here. So if they were to click it, just like before in AuthentiSign, it's going to be either accept, decline, or cancel. So if they hit accept, this is what it looks like. So if we scroll back up just a little bit, you're going to see that their initials are right there. For this next one, where it is optional, if I click that and I click decline, then their initials are missing. And then I'll continue on. So I'm at 74%, 78%. I'm almost done. 23 of 20 is 24. checkbox. Now notice I've done 25 and there's only one thing left to do, and that means I've skipped something, and it goes all the way back to the top to allow me to check that missing area that we skipped. So no more hunting around looking for it. This will automatically help the client to fill out any spots that they've missed. And now I can click complete signing. Now the client has the ability to print out their version of it. So if I were to say download it, I can be able to see what it looks like, what they signed. So I'll show you what it looks like. So they can be able to see their version of the document that they just signed right now with their one signature on it. See right here, with nobody else's signatures on there. So if they wanted to do so, they can keep it copy for themselves, but encourage the client that at the very end, they will get a hard copy, they will get a printed copy. They have to, at the very end, they'll have the ability to print one out for them, or you can send one out to them if need be. So I'm going to close this field up. And since this portion is all done, I can be able to now say, client, you're done with your process. Now it's going to go to someone else to sign, which is fine. Come on. Okay, I'll just close that window. And I'll go back into my Gmail account. And guess who's going to sign next? It better be Charlene. And it is Charlene. Good. So Charlene goes through the same process. I'm really curious as to the last party that's going to sign it. Charlene goes through the same process. She hits start. She has to choose a font style. She is going to choose this one because it looks very pretty. Or we actually, correction, let's go with something like a little bit more bold. There we go. So we can definitely see her signature. So now we can just go through the whole process, all 27 items. I do want to see what it looks like with a third party involved. Now, as I'm playing the world's worst video game ever, anybody have any questions up to this point? I'm almost done here. Yes.
When you do enter each party name, you can find the party stuff.
Yes.
So we have to manually insert all the signatures onto the application.
Only on documents that you've uploaded. That was a PDF before. Do you have to add signatures, check boxes, and names? But if it's a zip form document within CAR, you don't have to because it auto populates, assuming you're adding an individual that's already in the transaction. If
Third person to purchase a house.
that is, if you're adding a third person to purchase a house that is not in the original transaction, then you do have to add signature checkbox fields in that.
Okay, so
But the problem with a third signature is that most documents, great majority of the documents only have 2 signature fields and not a third one. So I'm curious what it's going to look like with a third individual when we finish this transaction.
I have a question. Does your client have to select a font each time they go in to sign, or does it save them?
The question is, does the client have to choose a font every time they have to save, every time they have to do a signature? And it's really just the first time they're doing this transaction. If they click a box that says save my signature, then in the future, when you do that same transaction, sending more documents within the same transaction, they'll be using the same font. So in other words, if you send a set of documents now, and then later on you have to send another set of documents later, it will remember that same font style that the client wanted.
Thank you.
I have a question. Can you please repeat how you make the checkbox optional?
How do you make the checkbox optional? When you drag and drop the checkbox, because we're in a different section to be able to do that, that's when you can be able to change the properties of it. We'll have to do that after we do this session.
Okay.
But I'm going to definitely show you before I go. Anyone else with questions? Because I'm open to questions right now. And I'm also open to learning based on your answers. Okay, our dear friend Charlene finished her job. Great. Now let's set up a different Gmail account or Gmail response. Any other, so as I'm stalling for time while I try to log in. Yes, a quick question being asked of me.
So you mentioned about the PDF. This is going back to,
Okay,
so you mentioned the PDF form has, it's kind of like about the old version already, how we had the old application where it, all the clients had to do this. Right? So for this one, this new version, we are inputting the new rules like the buyer this that, right? So the PDF form is already something that are something with the rules, and that's what generates the signature. Is that what you were saying?
if I understand your question, is your question that a document created by this brokerage, Coldwell Banker, if they have not put in the preset fields of it to be sign initial checkbox, then you would have to be the one to do the sign initial checkboxes in that document for any individual that's participating in that transaction. If it's already flagged as such already in the brokerage edition, then you won't have to do that.
Okay, so a preset to be created.
Correct.
If there is no preset, then we have to.
Correct. So if there's no preset, then yes, we as agents have to be able to add it onto it.
Is that preset already inserted?
Well, it depends what the form is.
So preset pretty much means like if it's in the form library, then it's already gonna have fields for you to.
So
Sorry,
that won't
name.
change?
Sorry?
That won't change since it's
That
already,
won't change.
okay.
That won't change.
Yeah, in case you get another document that needs to be, that comes that has nothing on it, just like I did with the listing form B that I've added. That's just a blank PDF, then I have to add everything onto it.
So,
And let's assume you're the listing agent and the buyer sent you the contract. You're gonna have to manually sign each and every signature and initial block to that form. That's the same analogy.
Okay, so pretty much it's pretty much the old version, just using a different format with the new version. So
Yeah.
nothing changes with us, it's just.
It doesn't, it doesn't.
Okay, that's all. I just wanted to get. I'm sure.
No, ask away, ask away. That's a great thing. No, I always encourage agents to ask because it's better to ask for too much than too little.
And then the third party signature, it's pretty much just using the tool and just dragging it in. Since there isn't any.
Correct, which I'm going to try right now because I've never seen a third party involved for transaction.
Because there's no third party signature on the form. So
Correct.
you just drag that to the
But he's not aware of the new version will automatically populate it without you having to manually drag the signatures on.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
am very
seem
curious.
like it's going to, but we're gonna find out.
Yes, because I'm very curious about it as well. Where did my email go? There we go. This is Charlene, already signed it. That's fine. And now we refresh it. And I'm waiting for a third party. Okay. Of course, this was for not George. Yeah, it is for George. Excellent. George's turn.
Party three, right?
Yes, party three. Okay, George is up at the plate. Okay,
Start.
go start. And dear George is going to click next. Ah, so it just only went down to here.
So the program is inserting.
He
the signature
chooses.
block.
Well, no, in this session, I created this. Yes. And George is going to choose this particular font style. And now I click set signature for George. And George's information is there. And I'm going to click next to see what I missed. Oh, this for George and a checkbox for George. So it looks like it did nothing else. This is just like the old system we have that you're going to have to add signatures.
So you don't have to manually drag and drop the signature and initial blocks. We just confirmed that.
Okay. Darn it. I mean, that's
So
just.
take that back to the, to the color because
Reason why we're just a new format now. or
Just a new
the same
format.
system?
Yeah, it's just a new format.
you learn one system, now you have to learn another.
No, I know, but I'm just trying to see what makes one better than the other. That's just a curiosity.
Question is, what makes this system better than the other, the old system that we're currently using?
Wow, yeah.
And I haven't found that answer yet. I just found a way is just doing things differently. Now, my guess,
You would think the reason why we go to a new system.
Yeah, I've been told there are limitations with the existing system. I don't know what the limitations are compared to
Yeah.
revised
Do
system.
you know the limits?
I do not know the limitations, but I'm guessing that this is setting up for further revisions in the future. Because Anthony and I both feel that they're going to change the whole process of us going into Zipforms, creating the transaction like we currently do. It's going to change to more of this kind of style. You're going to choose buyers, you're going to choose documents, you're going to be able to do it this way. So it's easing us into that method, but we just don't know. Like, for example, one of the limitations that we've discovered was we don't know how to add a photo to the agent visual inspection yet. Disclosure.
So this one,
This one, no, does
doesn't.
not.
not yet, okay.
The old version does, but the new version, we don't know of it yet. So we're still learning. You're welcome. No, it's great to ask questions because honestly, we're still, all of us are learning together, and we'll be teaching a class on this next month based on what we've picked up from interactions with all of you. This will be, I believe, in Laguna Hills. Yes, but we're going to be doing we're talking about doing a hybrid, but we're still talking about it. But we'll see. Okay, great. Great. We'll see you there then. We'll have the coffee ready for you. Not the best coffee, but it's okay. Not coffee from here. So with the document being signed by all three parties, then you'll see that now all individuals will have the ability to download the signed documents, and they can be able to print out the signing certificate. The signing certificate is also very important because it shows proof that the individuals who participated in this have indeed electronically signed it. So that way you have a copy which will automatically show up on your end as Zipforms, but please do not delete that, because if there is ever a legal dispute with this transaction, you show that yes, indeed, those individuals did participate in this transaction. And what does it look like in Zipforms after everyone signed it? Let me show you what that looks like. So if I go back into the list and I go back into that same transaction, oops. Let me move that there. Choose the walnut one again. I will see that there'll be a new folder added under my documents. And it should appear, well, it should appear, there it is, 3 parties assigned, this first folder right there. And I click it, and then sure enough, there's a residential purchase agreement. This is listing form B, which if I click the listing form B, you're going to see that all the 3 individuals have signed it right there. And then that way you can be able to archive it on your end, or you can print it, you can email it if you wanted to, etc. And then we look at the residential purchase agreement, and the residential purchase agreement will look very similar to what we're used to already. With the 2 signers and not the 3rd signer involved, because they were not able to sign the document where you needed a 3rd buyer to be involved. And the only time that you see George a part of this transaction is at the very end right over here. All 3 signers. Okay. That was different.
Any other questions for you? Carlos, is there anything in the chat box by any chance? No.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. If you need further assistance, definitely reach out to us. We're more than happy to assist you. If you leave us, if we're not answering the phones, we're either helping another individual out, or we're learning more about the Zipforms editor, or we're answering emails, or maybe we're at lunch. But do leave us an email or do leave us a voicemail. We'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And keep in mind, if you just recently joined the Board of Realtors, you only have access to the revised program, not to the former program.
And I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And
Okay, any other questions or comments from anybody? No? Well, thank you for attending, everybody. It's good to see you. And I hope you have a nice day, and we'll see you next week. So ideally, we're going to talk about, by the way, the lease listing agreement. It has changed materially, and the lease agreement itself, the residential lease, has changed dramatically also. So we'll cover that next week. Thanks for coming, everybody.
okay, bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, please.
Questions?
It was just practice. You know, that's like going at it. That's awesome. Like, wow. Okay. Yes, that's fine. So there's your previous work basic illustrated. Okay. So this is cover sheet that you're using. Good. No, to add a third party, you want to go to parties. Okay.
But this is the document.
Okay.
So I added two boxes.
You can pair it. No, no. That's all you want.
Going to the cover sheet. To the market. I'm wondering. And I'm wondering, like, is that?
I thought that's where you're going back to tell me.
I keep trying to sign that RTA, but it goes.
Then remove. coverage. Yes.
So that was.
But the problem is that on my demonstration, I want to show one.
No, like, do you have a sheet?
Have it fine.
No, but when you get a whole
Multiple documents, yeah.
그래가지고 이걸로 create
Multiple
report.
applications like a lease.
Like, no,
Oh,
I'm
oh,
saying
the
like.
order.
And each for the payment to, you know, skip that.
Yes.
So supposedly. Kind of like what she has.
But those are the only two dots. Wow.
Happy birthday. Everybody said happy birthday.
Well, you know, show it, so you should be able-
I just deleted the. Okay, so I just deleted.
Yes.
So in other words, this section right here, anything that someone has to do.
It's too late, you're gonna wait till the next year.
Just from the size.
Nice, next time. You are? Thank you, Jay.
It's adding the third party signature, to the first buyer signature box.
automatic.
Third buyer is, that's the reason why I had Alex go first.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And it's expired and automatic. There's what- Oh. That was like, it should be. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all of us are speak to this too. Oh, yeah. Yes, in fact, it's right here. So when you click that try forms editor, right? um,
I'm still on the Zoom.
Oh, let me end the Zoom.
So there,